And now, another historic moment for the event. I'm pleased to introduce the first company presentation, Auteco Minerals, who is currently focused on advancing its high-grade gold resources at the Pickle Crow Gold Project in the world-class Uchi mining district in Ontario. And the company also has a JV on the Limestone Well Vanadium Titanium Project in Western Australia. And to talk more about these projects is Chief Operating Officer Darren Cooke. Darren, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Can everyone hear me? Bonjour, je m'appelle Darren, j'habite l'Australie. Je parle un petit français. Would you believe that, on the other side of the planet, in a little suburb in Melbourne, they made us speak high school French? And one of the most useful things I found last night out on the town was "Je voudrais une bière, s'il vous plaît." It was fantastic. Is that all right? Yeah. Thanks for coming and attending the Auteco talk today. And look, what I'll do is give you an introduction into the company and what I believe is a really exciting future. We've made some great progress with the project, and we really think we're onto something special here. All right, so just an introduction into Auteco. I mean, we are located in Ontario, Northern Ontario, so, that's why we're here speaking at this conference. Really sat through the opening presentation this morning by Doug Silver, and the reason that we're here are a lot of those things he mentioned: great jurisdiction, and as a geologist, absolutely fantastic prospectivity for, discoveries of great deposits. And, we think with some of our early stage regional exploration results that we've had recently, that we're onto something pretty special here. The asset itself is one of Canada's highest grade producing historic gold mines. So in the past, between 1935 and 1966, they actually produced 1.5 million ounces of gold at an amazing grade of 16.1 grams per tonne. So it has a long history of producing high-grade gold. And that gives us a lot of confidence in the continuity of the resource, because there's 1.5 million ounces in gold bars sitting in the mint, from this deposit. And as I alluded to before, the other thing I want you to take away from this presentation is the prospectivity that we have here, which is, world-class. The term world-class gets bandied around a lot, but we do truly believe that we have a world-class deposit on our hands here. So look, we're an Australian-listed company. We're over here in Canada, because we really truly believe in the prospectivity and this project itself. We currently have a market capitalisation of around $90 million Australian. But what's really interesting about our register at this point in time is we have very strong institutional support, which is great for a company of our size. About 39% of the register are both North American, Australian and European investors and institutions, led obviously by 1832, and more recently Franklin Resources have joined the register as well. We are very well cashed up to continue our exploration program and to continue to grow our resource, which currently stands at 2.2 million ounces at 7.8 grams per tonne, which puts it amongst the most significant resource grades globally. So with that much money in the bank, we don't need to raise capital, and we will continue to deliver results. One of the really interesting things recently, though, is our share price has gone down, as have a lot of the gold equities, and most people would have seen that. One of the really interesting things from a macroeconomic point of view is that, gold isn't reacting the way it normally would. Normally, when you've got record inflation that hasn't been seen for years in the US, when you've got wars in the Ukraine, when Bitcoin's getting smashed, usually people run towards gold. And, as us as a company truly believe that gold will have its day again, and with the results that we've delivered, when the markets turn, Auteco is ideally placed to take advantage of that. Just a bit on the board and management team. We're lucky enough to have Ray Shorrocks in the room here, who's our executive chairman, But the board really did come to fruition or come to fame in Australia, if you like, through a company called Bellevue Gold. They took an old historic mine, invested in the drill bit, and turned it into $1 billion company. So I guess the game plan for Auteco was to do the same thing in North America. Myself, I've worked with Barrick and Newmont, and more recently Northern Star in Australia, and one of the things that we did there was take old assets, drill them out, invest in smart geology, and really grow the resources, which we've managed to do here at Auteco. Now, the one thing I'll make really clear is there's two main areas that we're focusing on in Auteco to grow this asset even further. The first is the near mine growth, and that's investing in building the resource out well away from the historic workings. We're discovering more and more vein sets that the old timers missed, and we're going to continue to advance that. As I mentioned before, we've got 2.2 million ounces in resource, and we are advancing that towards production. So, our intent is to keep growing near the current resource. But one of the things that will be a game changer for Auteco is the potential for regional discovery. We truly believe that we've got a whole camp, we've got a district, we've got a mineral district rather than just a deposit. And I'll show you some of the results that we've been getting, and also keep an eye on our ASX releases because there's more results to come that are highly encouraging. But we believe there's potential for more multi-million ounce discoveries on our ground away from the old Pickle Crow mine. So, watch this space on that front. Geologically, we're in the Superior Craton. I won't go through this in any great detail. I am a geologist and I can get a bit excited about it, as Ray will tell you, and get into the detail a bit much. But basically, the Superior Craton's Archean in age, really old rocks. They're 2.5 billion years old. And they're broken into a number of different districts or belts that formed under the same conditions. And one of the key takeaways for our ground is that we're in a belt called the Uchi subprovince, which is significant because it hosts some of the best gold deposits in Canada. We're in the same belt of rocks that hosts Red Lake. And excitingly, we're in the same belt of rocks that hosts Great Bear, the Dixie discovery that Kinross have just purchased. So, there's no better place in the world to look for gold. And what the guys at Great Bear have really demonstrated to us is that it is still possible in a so-called mature district to make really sizable gold discoveries. One of the things that sort of sets us apart from some of the other narrow vein gold deposits around is the fact that we actually have two distinct styles of mineralisation. And you can see here, these are some of the drill results that we've achieved during 2021. Now, the quartz veins were the bread and butter of what the old timers mined. There's 3 shafts there. They mined down to about 1,000 metres below surface, but it was all narrow vein, Red Lake style, high-grade quartz veins. And you can see there some of the results that we got: 7.3 metres at 33, 2 metres at 68, 2.1 metres at 31.8, and so forth. So we are finding a lot more vein material that is the basis of our resource. We have about 1.9 million ounces of that vein material at a grade of 9.3 grams per tonne in our current resource base. But what's really exciting and sets us apart from some of the other Red Lake deposits is there's another style of mineralisation that the old timers have overlooked, and that's mineralisation that's hosted in banded irons, and it's very similar to what they mined at the old Donna Lake mine with Placid Dome in the 1990s, and also the same style of mineralisation that they mine at the Musselwhite mine that Newmont have further to the north, and that's a 6 million ounce deposit. What's interesting about that is you get broad zones of mineralisation, more amenable to bulk mining methods, so be it open pit and be it large-scale stoping from underground. So some of the results that we've achieved from that in 2021, 20.4 metres at 5.3, 19.5 at 3.3, 10.5 at 3.6, and so forth. So we are really unlocking this system. It was previously unmined because the old timers had a cut-off grade of 8 grams per tonne, so they didn't worry about all this large bulk 4-gram material. And we think that that can really build a future operation for us. So not only do we have the high-grade veins, but we can also supplement a baseload mill feed with this broad style of mineralisation as well. Now, the resource that we have here has grown significantly through the investment in the drill bit. Auteco's had this project. We're earning in from first mining gold. We currently have 70% of the project, and we move to 80% at any time we want with a cash payment of $3 million. And since we've had the project since March 2020, we've invested in the drill bit, and that's the mantra of our company. We're not into big flashy head offices. We're not into, opulence. We want to put as much money as we can into the ground. And we've invested about 110,000 metres of drilling into the project since we've had it. Seems to be the Australian way: drill fast and drill quicker. We've had up to 5 drill rigs on site, and it's paid off for us in spades. You can see there the rapid growth through that investment in the drill bit. We started off with a first JORC compliant resource of 800,000 ounces, and with some confirmatory drilling of 5,000 metres got it up to 1 million ounces. We invested another 45,000 metres in the drill bit, got it up to 1.71, and then another 30,000 ounces went into the latest resource update that we put out in February, and we're up there at 2.2 million ounces at 7.8 grams per tonne. So to demonstrate what a great investment that has been for us, in the last 16 months prior to that resource update, we added 1.2 million ounces of gold, and the cost of discovery of that was US $12.59 an ounce. So you think about that, $12.59 an ounce for what we discovered. You cannot buy gold that cheaply. So it's been a great investment in the drill bit. One of the other things that we really see is that the grade of this deposit is globally significant. When I went through all the S&P global data set, in the true Tier 1 mining jurisdictions of Australia, Canada and the US, there's only 139 resources, exclusive of reserve, that are above 2 million ounces. And only 18 of them have grades greater than 4 grams per tonne. So, it really does set us into some good company there. You can see on that graph, we're probably one of the only major resources at that sort of grade and that sort of scale that is really in the hands of junior miners at the moment. So we intend to keep growing this resource. It's all inferred at the moment, right? But that's the nature of these narrow vein deposits. So what we're working on at the moment is plans to get back underground to drill it out. We need to drill it out to at least 20 by 20 spacing and, bring it into reserve. But what we know from the historic mining, you can see in this image here, all those pink hits are drill hits that we've had that are greater than 2 grams per tonne, that these high-grade shoots do hang together. Now, as I mentioned before, there's historic shafts there, but we all know that it can be pretty costly to rehabilitate shafts and get back underground. One of the things that this bulk material does for us is it gives us some operational flexibility in terms of being able to mine open pits. So one of the things we're considering is starting off with an open pit. One of the other things I should mention is, compared to a lot of other explorers, we're blessed with infrastructure because we do have a small mill that's in place and pretty much permitted. So, there's an ability for us to generate cash flow in a reasonably short time frame compared to other exploration projects around. But one of the interesting things is that the historic workings, there was a drive 228 metres below the surface that joins up all 3 of those historic production shafts and would give us 2.5 kilometres of strike to actually drill test from underground. So, one of the benefits of working in an historic area is that we can recycle the capital and really reduce the amount of money that we're going to have to spend to bring this into production. One of the things that we're doing at Auteco, though, is really bringing some of the latest technology around to hit the exploration. And this is just an example of some of the stuff that we've been doing. So some of the exploration results that I'll show you coming up, they're not luck, they're actually using new science. And science has evolved very rapidly and continues to do so. And we're very lucky that we're at the cutting edge of a lot of those things. So what you can see on this graph here is magnetics, geophysics. One of the challenges of exploring in Canada and exploring anywhere in the world, that if it's sticking out of the ground, it's already been found. So what we have to do as scientists is try and use the scientific methods to see through the cover. And this is the magnetic data. And you can see how in just the space of about 15 years, the technology has advanced significantly. What we have on the left-hand side is the 2004 state government Ontario data set for the same area as all of those things. Then in 2010, a company called PC Gold acquired some new aeromagnetics over the same area. And then last year what we did was we did drone magnetics. So you get flying drones, they're almost like military-grade drones. They put a magnetometer on it and fly just above the height of the spruce trees. And you can see the sort of resolution that we're actually getting now. So instead of it being a blur and almost having a stab in the dark, we can actually see the folds in the rocks. We can see the intrusions. We can see where the structures break them. And the ability to use that information to target is absolutely priceless in terms of our future operational and exploration success. And it's not just this magnetics. We're going to be using another seismic method called ambient noise tomography coming up later this year. And we believe that by getting that 3D picture of what's beneath the surface, we can really make some great discoveries here in the Pickle Lake district. So this is the map of our claims. We have about 500 square kilometres of ground in the Pickle Crow area. And as I said before, we are truly of the belief that this is a mineral district and not just the Pickle Crow deposit. You know, we've got the 2.2 million ounces in our resource and 1.5 million ounces mined historically at huge grade, all within that little green box there, all right? So, you know, what it's like when a mining operation starts, you have a hungry mill to feed, and it acts like a black hole for your exploration funding. All the dollars go into the ground around the mine in order to keep that mill turning. And quite often that happens at the expense of the regional prospectivity. Now, we're very lucky that this is one of the first times that the northern part of the Pickle Lake Greenstone Belt has been consolidated into one package. Previously, it was all bits and pieces here and there by lots of different companies. But what we actually have is a consolidated package to look at it from a regional perspective and apply what we've learned at Pickle Crow to other areas. Now, we've inherited a lot of historic data. There's about 170 kilometres of historic data in our database. 90% of that is around Pickle Crow itself. And there's very limited data from the 1930s through to the 1980s on the regional areas. What we know about these styles of deposits, and we see it in every Archean province in the world, be it Australia, be it Canada, everywhere, is that quite often in these orogenic systems you have parallel structures. And it's not just one structure that's mineralised. So when we look at the historic database, there are some sensational hits in there well away from our main resource area. Nearly 15 kilometres away at Tarp Lake, we've got 4.6 at 7.2. And another 36 metres at 1.5 in the lower grade material. Metcalfe, which is about 6 kilometres away from our resource area, there's a vein set that had intersections of 1.8 metres at nearly 2 ounces per tonne gold, right? Just over 2 ounces per tonne. So what that tells us is even though we don't know exactly where those holes were, they were drilled a long time ago, those structures are fertile. And what we've done in our last winter drilling campaign, because counterintuitive to what it is for an Australian, it's actually better to drill in this area when it's freezing cold and the ground's frozen solid. And if I tell people back home it's better to drill in minus 30 than it is plus 30 out there, and don't understand it because it's very, very swampy out there. During this winter period, we've stepped out and actually tested some of these ideas on some of these parallel structures. We have one here called Cohen MacArthur, and that's about 1.5 kilometres to the west of our current resource area. We drilled 5 holes into it. All 4 out of the 5 hit mineralisation, and these are first pass exploration holes. And one of the amazing intersections that we got there was 2.1 metres at 92 grams per tonne. So, you know, that's very successfully proven that there is another vein set out there on one of these parallel structures close to home. So I think that is going to be critical and it will really drive the growth of Auteco. Other areas that we've been targeting, Talia in the banded iron formation, nearly 5 metres at 3.6. And as I said before, we've got some more results come out, so watch this space on that area there. Very, very encouraging from what we're seeing. Swamp Zone, one of the first holes we drilled into that, 3.5 at 7.6, and you can see they're well out of that resource area. So, you know, we're going to keep investing in both the in-mine area and growing that resource rapidly. You know, we're rapidly heading towards 3 million ounces, which will be the next target milestone that we're aiming for. But we're going to step out here and really start exploring for new deposits because, you know, as I said before, I think there's multi-million ounce potential for discovery there. All right. So look, in summary, the investment thesis for Auteco, really simple. We have been hit very hard on the share market, but the results we've delivered have been outstanding, and I believe that when the market turns, we're well positioned to take place of it. Great location, sensational asset, major upside, and a very strong team to make this happen. So, merci très beaucoup. Thank you very much.
Darren, that was great. I'm going to moderate some questions for you. If anyone has any questions for Darren.
No questions.
No questions.
I've got one here.
Oh, one here. Just a minute. There's a microphone coming. Thank you, Terence.
Thanks, sir. Looks like you spent about $25 million so far?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Okay. And you got another $25 million in the balance sheet still to spend?
We do, correct.
Okay.
So.
This is not a quiz, okay? Organic deposits typically are development intensive. I mean,
yep.
Configuration, geometry doesn't allow you to be bulk mining a lot of times.
Yep.
Maybe it's a bit early, but what would you say, I guess, assume the tonnage that you can actually run this project at?
Look, it's very early, but what I would say from that presentation also is it's not just a narrow vein system. We actually have that banded iron material with intersections up to 15 metres wide. So those things are more amenable to bulk mining and higher productivity rates as well. And what we're really trying to do is make sure that we right-size the infrastructure. So I've seen a lot of projects make the mistake where they rush into a mill, either too big or too small, and it ends up messing up the economics of the project. So what we really want to do is make sure to find how much of this bulk material we've got and build a sensible mine plan and make the infrastructure meet that.
Of course, being coarse gold, you can do gravity circuit as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was according to the historic reports, it was over 90% gravity recovery out of the veins.
It's amazing. Sorry, one more question quickly. You said there's a mill 15 kilometres away on one of the
sides? No, there's actually a mill right in the middle of the deposit. So it's very small scale. It's only 100,000 tonnes per annum. But we have had options. We've had Auteco out there looking at it, and we can upscale that very rapidly for fairly minimal expenditure.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Johan.
Thank you, Terry. Nothing excites me more than banded iron formation, almost more than diamonds.
Oh, that's great.
Spent a lot of time in Brazil looking at that.